Hi, and welcome to episode number 10 of Get Involved Pittsburgh here on PCTV 21 and 47 in the city of Pittsburgh. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Tom Baker, and I'm proud to be your host. I hope that you enjoy our show. Tremendous guests that are going to be on our show, representing a wide array of organizations here in the community that you can get involved with and give back. I'm a true believer that there's always something for us to do here in the city, ways to connect with other organizations to make a difference, something that my wife and I believe very strongly in. We love staying busy in the city and find no reason to leave, and just love staying active here in the Pittsburgh region. So again, just thank you for tuning in. Thanks to the whole staff at PCTV for all their help with Get Involved Pittsburgh over the years. Our headline guest today, I'm very proud to have in the studio. Flanagan is here with us, a familiar face to those watching at home in the Pittsburgh region. Mr. Flanagan is the Executive Vice President with the Allegheny Conference and also the host of Our Region's Business that I watch every Sunday morning. So thanks very much for being here, Mr. Flanagan.
Great to be here, and thanks for viewing the show.
Okay, I was trying to recruit you some viewers.
I know, I
there before
appreciate
we
that.
went
We'll
on.
take them one by one, whatever it takes. Yeah.
So, Mr. Flanagan, you're a great ambassador, supporter, advocate for our region. Tell us a little bit, though, about how you ended up in Pittsburgh in your career.
I came here looking for a job, or not actually looking for a job, because of a job. I started my career in television, in news, and my first job after grad school was up in the northeastern Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. I was working for a TV station up there, had worked there for a few years, and as it turned out, the fellow who had hired me had wound up in Pittsburgh at KDKA. So out of the blue one day, the phone rings, and he says, "Hey, Bill, would you have any interest in coming to Pittsburgh?" And I said, "Pittsburgh? I'm already in Scranton. Where the heck is my career going?" I didn't know what to make of it. But I
sound like Joe Biden a little
bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, actually, I guess there's some common connection there, although I was not originally from there. But I came to Pittsburgh and, of course, fell in love with it almost immediately. And came here to work for KDKA and did that for almost 20 years, and then went to work for the Allegheny Conference after that.
What were some of the highlights of your career, on KDKA, some of the things that you really enjoyed doing with all the work that you did there?
Oh, I mean, all kinds of things. I think the most fascinating thing was I came here to be a general assignment reporter, so to do, fires and police and politics and whatever came along. But the timing when I got here back in 1982 was in the middle of the bust. I mean, the economy was collapsing here, people were jobs, and pretty much all of us who were reporting in those days became business reporters or labor reporters or whatever else, because that was the big story. The year after I got here, the unemployment rate in Pittsburgh topped out at 18.3%.
Wow.
That was the metropolitan unemployment rate in '83. And so I got more and more interested in those kinds of stories. I was outside the Homestead Works when they shut it down on the last day. I covered when they imploded or blew over the Dorothy 6 furnace. I mean, a lot of the images of Pittsburgh in the 80s, I had the opportunity to cover a lot of those stories. And so in 88, actually in the very end of 87, I became the money editor, the business reporter for KD, and then really did that full time from that point forward. So it was really being on the front line. So first, the collapse of an economy and wondering, well, would Pittsburgh be able to engineer a comeback? And then over the last 20 years, it's really been able to tell the story of what's a pretty remarkable comeback that actually did happen here.
Absolutely. It happened here. I know that you were a champion in charge of the Pittsburgh 250 as well, which was a big celebration of our region. Tell us a little bit about what was accomplished through the Pittsburgh 250.
Well, I think as much as there were a couple of objectives in Pittsburgh 250, and as much as anything, it really was trying to develop a greater sense of, among all the folks in the entire region, beyond just the city of Pittsburgh, but really 14 counties became involved in it. We wanted to give people a sense that they share a story. They share a story that goes all the way back to the French and Indian War, but they have a lot in common in terms of the way the economy, where they live, the quality of life here, and to try to build a much better bond here within the region. And I actually think we were successful in doing that by a number of the initiatives that we launched. Of course, the other piece of it was we wanted to raise external awareness of the good things that are happening here and try to communicate a story that Pittsburgh really had turned itself around, that it is a new economy. And we still make things, and we're proud of that, and we still bank things, and we still provide energy and all those things we've always done well, but we do things as well, software, high tech, life sciences, those sorts of things. And it really was the beginning, I think, of getting the word out outside the region that something different was happening here. And one of the outgrowths of the effort back in 2008, which was the anniversary, was sort of planting the seed with the Obama administration when they got into office that maybe they should bring the G20 here the year after. And that was really, I think, a game changer for the region's image.
That was the perfect segue to my next question, which was the G20. I mean, just you as a lead coordinating huge scale events, What was the process like with being the local coordinator for the G20?
Well, I was just so happy we had just done Pittsburgh 250 because we had about 100 partner organizations that worked on that project. So we'd all kind of gotten in the habit of working together. And it was the city of Pittsburgh, it was Allegheny County, it was Visit Pittsburgh, it was us, and many, many other partners. So when the G20 just kind of fell on us out of the sky, you know, it was a real surprise in late May of 09. It was very easy to pull everybody together. It was literally emails and phone calls and say, okay, we're putting the show on the road again. We've all got to rally. And we pulled that whole coalition back together very quickly. Everybody was on board to kind of develop a shared message for the region so there'd be some consistency in what we would say to the 3,000 reporters who came here. And so I think we were very fortunate because we had just been through the Pittsburgh 250 project. And that it was easy to galvanize the community, everybody kind of knew what their role was, and they just fell right back into it. And I truly believe that the region and the city, the county, that we all knocked it out of the park in terms of the benefit hopefully we'll get from it long term.
Absolutely. I mean, just all the hits, the media hits, a huge thousands.
Yeah, well, we've tracked, and about 3,000 reporters came for the G20. We've tracked 7,000 positive stories about Pittsburgh just in the United States. You could probably double that for the rest of the world. And based on some of our analysis, if we had to go out and buy all that space and time, it'd cost like $100 million and to do it in advertising. So it was really an unprecedented opportunity to sort of change the globalization about Pittsburgh. Since then, you know, we've had 20 civic leadership delegations from across the United States who come here to benchmark Pittsburgh, see what we're doing right.
We have a big conference coming. Is it?
We've got 3 big conferences coming up this year. We have the National Black Engineers coming in March. There's 5,000 black engineering college students from across the country. We have the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, almost 2,000 of the best and brightest high school students from around the world, 65 countries, coming to Pittsburgh. And then in the fall, we have the World Summit, which is 2,000 or 3,000 20-somethings from around the world that are going to be coming to Pittsburgh. It's called the Young Davos, and they're going to be coming to Pittsburgh to talk about important global issues. None of those 3 probably would have come here had we not generated the interest and attention we did as a result, especially of the G20. So the conversation about Pittsburgh has changed, and the interest in Pittsburgh is much, much higher than it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. I know you're a great advocate and ambassador. What are your favorite things about Pittsburgh? What do you enjoy on a typical weekend or on an evening? What do you and your family
Well, I've
enjoy?
got younger kids, so we love the zoo. We love to take advantage of one of the best children's zoos in the country. I think one of the great stories in Pittsburgh is really just the exciting things that have happened with some of the organizations like the zoo, like the aviary, like Phipps Conservatory, that over the last 20 years since the county instituted the regional assets tax really have grown into nationally significant, if not world-class attractions. And so for anybody who has, those are fabulous places to do. I love the fact that the restaurant scene is getting a lot more interesting. And really some great places. There are little neighborhood spots. There's some of the more interesting chains that have moved into the region that were never here before. I mean, it's really night and day from when I came to Pittsburgh almost 30 years ago.
Right. I think you know through my work at Big Brothers Big Sisters that having role models for children is really important. But I think it's important for young professionals as well to make sure that they have role models. I know that early on when I met you, I scheduled an informational interview with you, get to know you a little bit better, and I always try to educate and empower young people to do that as well. You were very nice. We went to Starbucks, had a cup of coffee. I talk about the story all the time, actually, because I was a little nervous asking you. We didn't know each other. I said, I'd just like to get to know you a little bit better. And I think that's really important for people to be willing to get out there. What I'd like to know, though, is in the early 80s when you came here and through your career in Pittsburgh, who are some of the role models that you've had, people that you've looked up to and learned from in our region?
Well, in those days, I was involved so I was kind of watching what was going on. I mean, in the dark days for Pittsburgh, I mean, the leadership of Mayor Caligiuri at the time, who never gave up on the town, who really was trying to engineer a renaissance too. I mean, I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten the time I spent with him. Some of his senior staff people, I think about David Matter, who is truly one of my role models in the community in the way that he helped Mayor Caligiuri manage that government and accomplish some great things here. Jim Rohr, who chaired Pittsburgh 250, the chairman and CEO of PNC.
Pittsburgher of the Year as well.
Pittsburgher of the Year, even though he's a native of Cleveland. But a guy who came here early in the year, worked within Pittsburgh National Bank and later PNC, but really embraced the town. And if I were going to pick one individual, and there are a number of I could cite by name, but certainly Jim is one who really exemplifies committed corporate and civic leadership and really walks the walk and encourages his entire organization to be engaged in the community and get involved. And I mean, he's made an enormous difference. And there are other companies, I could go down a very long list here. We're very lucky here in Pittsburgh that we have some of the most engaged and private sector leaders you're going to find anywhere in the United States. And it's unusual. Not many, we've heard from a lot of other regions, not every place is like this. So it's something really to be treasured, and I just have so much respect for people who find the time to do it when they have busy jobs and careers of their own.
Absolutely. Well, I know you have a busy job and career and family, so I just want to thank you for your time here on Get Involved Pittsburgh, episode number 10. Thank you for all the leadership that you provide in our region. The one thing I have to ask you before we let you go, though, your goal for 2012, we're kind of having all of our guests on the show today, goal, something they'd like to achieve in this new year. What's on your mind as you look forward to the next year?
Well, I mean, I think one of our big challenges as a region, and it's one I hope to be able to influence, is complacency to some degree. We're now doing better than average, you know, compared to so many other places in the United States. I think if anything, we need to all challenge ourselves to take the region, take Pittsburgh to the next level, raise the bar for ourselves, and then see if we can jump over it. So I hope I can do it. I'll do whatever I can to kind of help everybody set that bar.
Well, I'm sure you'll play a big. What's the website for the conference?
Well, the Allegheny Conference, AlleghenyConference.org.
That's easy enough. Okay. All right. Well, Bill Flanagan, thank you very much for being on episode number 10 of Get Involved Pittsburgh. That was Bill Flanagan. We're very happy to have him here on the show. Up next, we're going to have Molly Taleb, who is the director of the Pittsburgh Job Corps Center. We'll be back in just a minute.